Hey gang, it's Abe Shreve here with Maps Coaching, and I'm here to share with you a little script that you may consider for your listing presentation. Now, it's really not uncommon for me to be asked, Abe, what do you say and how do you do it? The truth is, I am in and out of there in about 30 minutes. Now, early in my real estate career, I would feel this need to just bond with them. I just wanted to bond. I felt like that if we could put together a friendship so deep that they would name their next child after me, they would list their home with me. And one day I had this realization that I'm not getting the listings. I'm out in the driveway playing basketball with their kids, and that guy over there is listing the house. So I called a dear friend of mine, Josh Stern, and I said, Josh, I don't think my personality is helping. And that fast he said, oh, your personality is not an asset to your clients. He said, your skill level is an asset to the clients. The personality, that just means it's easier for you to talk to them. And he's true. I want to challenge you to get your presentation down to the point that you can do it in 30 minutes or less, that 10 out of 10 times it's the same. Drill it, practice it, get it down so ingrained in your core that you can focus on the nuance of the interaction. That's the objective. Now, there are a lot of great listing scripts out there. I love the one that Diana shares in bold. I think it's super, super powerful. This is not meant to be a replacement of that, but this is just meant to share with you what it is that I've done. Now, I've tried high-tech, low-tech, and everything in the middle. I'm gonna illustrate mine with a sheet of paper and a Sharpie. You do it whatever works for you, but I've tried it so many ways. This is honestly what I end up doing. So, I show up at the door, and this presupposes that I've called and pre-qualified them. You know, if you like what I have to say and you're calm and confident that I'm the right guy to get your home sold, do you plan to list your home with me when I come out tonight? Again, I don't care if they say yes or no. It's one more opportunity for them to say no, because we know it takes 7 no's to get a yes, right? And so, I'm just gonna provide all those opportunities. Anyway, I've done all that, now here I am, knock knock. Hello, hey, how are you? Great, I'm Abe Shreve, good to meet you, hi, good to meet you. Beautiful home, love that dog, you have fantastic hair, whatever it is. Whatever you do to kind of get in there and get settled with them. I don't say fantastic hair, by the way. But here's what I do, I say, hey, would it be all right with you if we sat at the kitchen table? Yeah, that'd be fine. So we go over to the kitchen table and I pull out a chair and they pull out their chairs and I say, now, may I share with you how I think this would work best tonight? Yeah, go ahead. Perfect. Here I have a seller survey. This is really gonna help me understand a little about you, what your needs are, because tonight this isn't about me. This is 100% about you. I wanna know exactly what we can do that will meet your needs tonight. I'd like you to take a few minutes and fill this out, and I'm gonna take a quick look at your house. Now, before I do, are there any rooms that you don't want me to look at? Now, this is a great moment because they're always like, the closet's not my responsibility, and she'll be like, hey, whack, and she'll hit him. And she'll hit him because girls hit. Have you ever noticed? Bam, girls hit. And I'll say, okay, I'll be careful in the closet, I won't get lost, and we kind of laugh, and it helps to build rapport. And then I just take a quick buzz around the house. Get away from the habit of them touring you through the home. This carpet was pink, and we tore it out and replaced it with this. I could give a hairy sewer rat's back end what the carpet used to be. I've got 3 more appointments tonight. I've got to be efficient. So I want them filling out the survey. Well, I run through the house. So I go through the house and I take some mental notes and I come back and I say, great, how are we doing on that survey? We're about done, we got it. And so I take it and I say, excellent, and I look at it. And I ask a few qualifying questions. You know, it says here that you really got to move in the next 3 months. Let me ask you something. What happens if you don't move? Well, we have to move. Because if we can't move, we don't get the survey. And if you don't sell your home, will you be able to move? No, we have to sell. So making sure that your home hits the market so that it's prepared to bring an offer in the first few days it hits the market is important, isn't it? Yes, it is. Excellent. And what about this one? And what about this one? So I ask them some qualifying questions and I say, great. Now I'd like to explain a little bit about how this process works. Doesn't that sound good? Yeah, it sounds good. Perfect. And here's how I do it. So you high techies, I like tech as well, but you high techies are gonna be like, Abe's a little medieval, but stick with me because this works. So I'll say, I take a sheet of paper, Sharpie, and I say, now, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I want you to envision that the sale of your home, the successful sale of your home, is sitting on top of a tripod. In other words, there are 3 very distinct and separate processes that need attention in order for this successful sale to occur. Now, there are 3 important legs. Take one away and the whole thing fails. So what I want to do is help you understand what are the 3 legs and who has responsibility. Does that sound good? Yep, sounds good. Perfect. Leg number 1 is how your home will show. How your home will show to a buyer. And this is the moment that I talk about. I say, now Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I've toured your home. In fact, I go in and out of homes all day. You have a beautiful home. Let me ask you, is there anything that you believe that you should do to your home right now so that it presents itself to the buying public with its best foot forward? And they'll just go crazy. Well, he's supposed to clean out the garage. I love that. She's probably hitting him again, right? Because girls hit. And this and that, and they'll start saying all of their stuff. And I'm making notes while they do it. I'm writing down the timeline. Because this whole leg is about staging, preparing, and having the home ready for the appointment. I'm writing as they go. Now, if there's something that I see that I know we have to address, this is where I'm going to bring it up. In my experience, I've learned that if you've got a project that's halfway done, the buyers, they're not going to be able to visualize the final product. What would it take, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, for you to finish the tile in the kitchen? Well, I got to get my brother-in-law out here. So knowing that time is crucial, when can he come out so that that job can get complete and we can get your home on the market? Now listen to the assumptive language that's already entered the conversation. They're committing to finish their kitchen and they're committing also to work with me so we can get the home on the market. Well, we can do it by Thursday. I'm going to write that here. Complete tile by Thursday. When will you call them? I believe in walking people through their process. When will you make that call? Are there any material needs that you need to provide in order for that job to be finished? Perfect. If I call you Thursday night at midnight, which I won't, but if I did, could you report to me that the job would be complete? Yep. Outstanding. I'll call you Friday. So I'm writing that stuff here. I also say, now Mr. and Mrs. Seller, the old adage that you never get a second chance to make a first impression is so true in the spirit of homes. In fact, there is a feeling that exists when a buyer walks into a home. And it either feels right or it feels wrong. Have you ever had the experience where you walked into a space and you kind of knew right away if you liked it or not? Yeah, we've had that experience. Even if they haven't, consciously, if they haven't had that experience, they'll say, yeah, we've had that. They say, yeah, we all have that same thing. So it's mission critical that when a buyer comes to look at the home that it looks exactly right. Now I need a commitment from you that when we set an appointment for a pre-qualified buyer to come and look at your home, that it will be looking at its best. Can I have that commitment? Yeah, again, the assumptive language. Now every now and then they'll say, well, I don't even know if we're going to work with you. I understand. Let's just keep going and we'll make sure that we fully understand the process. Doesn't that sound important? Yes. Perfect. So I'll say, now, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, when we look at the 3 critical legs of this that have to exist in order for the sale to happen, and we look at the one of preparing the home to be shown, who owns this one? The buyer, the seller, or the agent? And they'll always say, well, we do. Great. The seller does. So I write up there, seller. Seller owns that one. That's you. The second one is the process of marketing your home. It's really important that we get your home, once your home looks just the way it needs to, that we get your home into the flow of the most buyers possible. And this is where I break down my marketing plan. Now, I do step away from elementary school and I have a little sheet that kind of breaks it down. Now, I want to challenge you to take the various processes that you use and break them down and tell their story. For example, I say to them, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, one of the very first things I'm going to do with your home once we put it on the market is I'm going to go back to my office and write a press release telling all of the great things about your home. And I'm going to email that to every agent and every buyer that has gone online and shown interest in your area and in your price range. Can you see how that will help to bring a buyer forward? Yeah, I could see that. Now, what is that, by the way? It's putting it on the MLS. That's what it is. You see, it's called the auto hot sheet. And when you list your home, it gets emailed out to everybody that's registered for that criteria. Now, so many agents will say, I'm going to put you on the MLS, and the seller doesn't even know what that is. It's our most valuable tool, and yet we don't break it out for them. So break it out. I'm going to create a press release. I'm going to email it out to these people because that is what it is. So make sure you're telling the story of your marketing. So I'm going to go through that. When I get to the end of my marketing plan, I'll say, now, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, when we consider the 3 crucial legs that support the successful sale of your home, who owns the process of marketing? You, the seller, me, the agent, or the buyer? Well, you do as the agent. That's right. So I'll write next to it, agent. And then I'll say, now the 3rd leg, and the one I end with last the best of all the game. This one is so important. This is the process of choosing a price that will cause your home to sell. And I say, and then, now here I'm going to refer you to another video I've made that's called Getting the Right Price on the First Appointment. I want you to go and look at that video because in that video I walk you through a process of taking them through a process of selecting the right price and then holding them weekly accountable to whether or not they want to adjust their price. See, far too often we say, I pulled the comps and your home is worth $273,582.28. And then I call them in a month and I say, hey, we don't have any offers, would you like to reduce? And that figure that I told them, it's a lie. Now it's no longer true. See, I want to show them the market and I want to say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, based on what you see here, where do you believe your home fits in on the market? And I want to work them through a process so that we arrive at a reasonable market value, one that I know will cause a sale. I'm going to call them every week and say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, here's all the things that happen on your home this week. We don't have an offer. Would you like to adjust your price? My job is to ask them the difficult questions. It's not to be their buddy and to play t-ball with their kids. I'm a professional. So I'm asking you to go and watch that video and get familiar with leg 3. It's the script and dialogue I use. Now on that one, I say, now Mr. and Mrs. Seller, who's responsible for leg number 3? You the seller, me the agent, or the buyer? The buyer is. I'm sorry, say that again. The buyer is. That's right. The buyer is responsible for the market. Wouldn't it be fantastic if you and I could select and choose and control market value? I would sell your home for $3 million tonight. After all, you and I are both heavily incented to sell your home for the most money possible. Isn't that true? Yes. And unfortunately, the buying community chooses what price they are willing to pay for a given home in your area with your criteria. So that is the script. Now when this is all said and done, I'll say, now Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we are at that point. Is there anything we should talk about before we go ahead and get your home on the market tonight? That's my lead in. We are at that point. I literally say that. Is there anything we need to talk about before we go ahead and get your home on the market? Now notice what I haven't talked about, commission. So they'll go, well, how much commission? How much do you charge? Or whatever their crazy questions are. And I say, oh, that's such a great question. I charge a standard 3%. Should we go ahead and get started? And they'll often push back and they'll say, well, will you do less? Or so-and-so will do it less? Or that's a lot of money? Or we don't know if we can afford it, whatever. But usually that'll manifest in a question around, would you take less commission? And this is an easy one. I say, no, actually I won't. Do you have any other questions? And it's kind of, at first they're kind of like, wow, what a jerk. And then I laugh and I say, but can I tell you why? Yes, I can tell you why. And now, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'll say, Mr. Seller, you obviously you do well at your job. And so tell me again, what are your specific responsibilities? What's your title? Well, I'm a shift supervisor at the engineering firm. Fantastic. And Mr. Seller, I want you to imagine that tomorrow you show up for work and your boss pulls you in and he says, Mr. Seller, I am so pleased with the work you do, with the level of enthusiasm and expertise that you bring to your job every single day. Fantastic. I want you to keep that up. We are, however, going to be cutting your compensation in half. Are you going to be okay with that? And they'll say, no. Why? Well, if I'm doing the work, they say all the things you should never say. If I'm doing the work, I should get paid, and they'll walk through it and I'll say, see, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, some agents, I point to those agents, right? These idiots out here. Some agents are under the false impression that they will be equally motivated for less, and you and I both know that's not even possible. It's against human nature. Should we go ahead and get started? They'll sign it right there. Now there are other objection handlers that go in here. I refer you to your bold scripts. It's the best collection of the language of sales meeting scripts that I've ever seen. I use a lot of it. I challenge you to use it. If there are things in here that you can use, I challenge you to take them, make them your own. I would caution you on a couple of things. Number one, practice before you go. Practice, practice, practice. Get people that are willing to sit down and go through this process front to back with you. Once you really have it dialed, record it and listen to it. Now, as an agent, I was at a point that I had taken hundreds of listings, and I would still listen to my presentation, me delivering my presentation in the car on the way to the presentation. I had this thing drilled, muscle memory, inside and out. But I wanted to get, from a mental preparation standpoint, I wanted to get on the listing channel. I wanted to make sure that when they opened the door, I could not lose. So I would listen to it in between listings on my way. So whatever you do, become the highest level of professional in your presentation. After all, when Gary says a realtor only has 5 jobs, one of those jobs is to give meaningful presentations. That's your job. All right, so from Abe to you and everyone at MAPS, I wish you the very best and happy selling.